Introduction to Manifesting Your Dreams, a course that we are going to officially begin next week. And we may need to mute some people here, and just in case. And this is Philip Montrose with my wonderful partner, Jane. Jane?
Hi, everybody. It's wonderful to be here.
So hopefully you're ready to manifest your dreams, and that's why I'm assuming you're here. You're in the right place at the right time. Jane and I, we've developed this program, this Manifesting Your Dreams, for over 2 decades. Time flies. People love the experience. They love the results. It's a program that allows you to have profound spiritual growth shifts. You can develop professionally. A lot of people want to start or enhance a career or their calling. You're being called. And are you listening? So you can discover that. You can realize that through this program, through the knowledge and the tools and the support, a small group setting. And if you don't know the ingredients to manifesting, which is part of human development, you're missing some key ingredients in terms of manifesting maybe better health, wealth, career, relationships. Because you're liable to get stuck at times, lost, overwhelmed in all the noise and information out there. And you're not hearing the signal through the noise, as they say. And that signal is coming from your heart, which is connected with your soul. And that's what we teach you in this 12-week manifestation course beginning next week at this time, February 11th. And it's part of our larger Holistic Coaching and Healing Certification Online Program. And some of the people in this class are here who are already enrolled, and some people are kind of looking at it or considering enrolling, and welcome everyone. We've learned, Jane and I, over the years doing this for so long, although it just seems like the time is flowing by because kind of living on purpose, doing what you love, time does go quickly. We've learned how to help people quickly target core issues that are stopping them from living fully. We all have those things. So the quicker you can determine what they are when you're ready to resolve them, and the kind of people who are on this call and take this course want to resolve them, they're no longer, they can't tolerate burying them and putting them under the rug or pushing them aside. They have to deal them. Sometimes a little uncomfortably, but you're in the right place to do that. So once you know how to resolve them through holistic coaching and healing tools, life opens up for manifestation and purpose and more. And you have a lot of tools and knowledge and support to do so. Jane, you want to add to any of that?
Yeah, I'm actually very excited about having the opportunity to give an overview of this course, because just focusing on it today, looking at the 12 classes, it made me realize again how profound it is. It is for me, it has been for us, and I think it has been for many of our clients and students as well. I think when we started out, which was actually more than 2 decades ago, trying to manifest our dreams, we didn't have a roadmap. And actually, I think very few people do. I haven't seen anything else quite like the one that we created, which was based on our experience, just going through the steps of manifesting our dreams, and also on working with our clients and students over so many years of just really focusing in on what people need to understand, because we did a lot of trial and error. It was interesting. I was thinking about it today. We were starting before I think the idea of life coaching even was really out in the mainstream, or I don't know if it exactly even existed at that point. And so now things are so different. And I think that also we're at a place, just so many of us in our own growth, that it's possible to make really transformational leaps in your life. And that's very exciting.
It really is. And it reminds me of Jackie Kay, one of our students who was a massage therapist. And people take this program, the 12-week course, which is part of the 1-year coaching healing certification program. They come from all walks of life. Some people are healers. Some people are coaches already. Some people are in healthcare, conventional or alternative. Some people are business people, educators, all walks of life. This lady was a massage therapist, and she wanted to branch out into a new field and getting a little burnt out in massage and develop more tools in holistic coaching with a spiritual orientation. And she was more than rewarded because she found a financial coaching niche for women and tripled her income and was really thrilled by that. And there are many stories like that, because when you follow your dream, that take that sometimes leap of faith, amazing things can happen. And there are many stories of manifestation. We could fill up the whole hour we're going to be with you here with these stories. And we'll touch on a few of them throughout. And some people may have personal stories around the call already who've been with us.
Right. Well, and transformations in people's health and just many different areas, relationships. We used to say it, and I have actually, it hasn't happened much recently, but it has happened that people with bad relationships, they'd come into the program and ultimately they'd end up getting a divorce from, a relationship that wasn't serving them. So it can cause a lot of actual turmoil in people's lives too, when they realize that they deserve something better than what they have now. But that's just something, when I think about that, how many times that has happened, it's kind of interesting.
Right. Yeah, a lot of change and transformation. And by the way, stick around for the full call, the class, because some people I know are visiting and other people who are already enrolled want to get everything and every piece of it, because it's quite valuable, all the pieces. Because we're going to do a live demonstration with one of our students. These are the things we do in the course, and we teach you how to do the techniques in the course, but we'll give an example of holistic EFT. You may know the EFT tapping we've developed over the years, pioneered our own innovative techniques and tested. We'll do one of them for clearing a block on manifestation with Sunny, one of our students enrolled in the call, who's here in this preview class to the whole course. So let's get started with the way we're going to do this is there's 12 weeks of classes. Each week we cover certain areas. We're going to give you an overview very quickly of each week, what it is, why we teach it, and maybe a little nugget, actionable tip for that week.
Right. Yeah. So we want to share a bit about them and tell you why each one is important. And to kind of set the stage, often actually we alternate. I'll teach one week and then Philip will teach the next week. And next week I will be teaching the first class, where we set the stage with our coaching matrix, which is relevant for all of the courses in this program. And in this one, we go through it step by step, along with some very deep healing processes. This is the course where we go into processes that we learned when we studied hypnotherapy decades ago. It's one of the first things that kind of got us on this journey. And so the Heart of Success Roadmap, from my perspective, it might be one of the most powerful coaching tools anybody could have. And this course includes a complete book on it called Manifesting Your Dreams. And with each course, we have specific study materials, and which includes we have a manual also. So part of the manual is on manifesting your dreams. And right. So there are, with the course, everyone has materials that they can refer to for years to come, really. I think a lot of these things we learned over a period of years. So even though a year sounds like a long time for a program, it actually is a pretty intense training when you look at it. We cover a lot of material. So this one, the Heart of Success Roadmap, it's like the foundation, and it's what we would call also a tale of two realities. So I think everybody understands that not everybody here on Earth lives in the same reality. And many people are living in a reality where it's like a dog eat dog type of a thing, and you have to fight for everything that you get. And, and it's based on fear and separation and lack. And what we're teaching is how to shift into a place where your life can be focused on love and connectedness, and really on infinite potential. And if you think about it, if you feel separate and alone, which so many people do, and I know all of us experience it at one time or another, that's really what you're creating, kind of this just very limited perspective. And if you can open to even miracles, what we call the field of pure potential, then there's much more that's possible.
Right.
And so the first step in manifesting your dreams is about actually getting onto your own path.
Right.
And so you have to realize that your journey is not like anyone else's journey. That you're moving out. It's kind of like, I see it often like there's the herd of humanity, and each of us, we reach a point where we decide, well, I can't stay in this herd anymore. It's just not working for me. And Philip and I often tell a story about how we kind of got started. Philip was an educator, I was an architect, and we had basically, the things that society teaches you to want. We had the house, we had the cars, 2 cars, and the dogs. We never had children, but we had 2 dogs, and we had a good life. We had vacations, things were looking good, but we weren't feeling it. Something big was missing, and it was something inside. I felt like my soul was dying. And I didn't even know what that meant. That wasn't an idea I got from a book or anything. It was just like this life was just leaving me. And it was, to me, such an important thing that I knew I had to do something dramatically different.
Right.
And it couldn't be to continue to listen to what the status quo was dictating for me.
Right.
So I jumped over the fence onto, it's kind of like that idea of going out into the wilderness. I went off, and with Philip, fortunately, onto this journey of discovering what really was meaningful to us.
Right.
And it led us where we are today, which has been, when I look back at where we started, it's hard for me to believe that everything that has happened. It's been much more fulfilling, and we've reached thousands of people, written books, and I never would have possibly imagined that all of that could happen. And so if you look at, again, the overview of the journey, I often think of Tony Robbins. I think probably everybody knows who Tony Robbins is, a success coach. He says that success is 20% skill, or the actions you take, and 80% psychology, your thoughts, your feelings, what's happening inside. So the roadmap is, there's a lot of internal work involved before you get to taking action, to actually being able to manifest, or what we would say, be in your zone and be in the flow with it. It's not that you can't do anything now, and I know a lot of people are well on their way anyhow who come to us. But it is important to, the more you have the inner parts together, the more effective you're going to be at creating the life that you really want.
Right.
So, and that's why this is important. The first part, it's about stepping out of the herd onto your own path.
Right, and that's like a good overview. Should we tell about week 1? Some of this is week 1.
Well, this is what I was talking about.
Okay, so that you're correlating. Like, I wasn't sure if you're correlating.
Right.
General.
Yeah. I think I did
that's
mention.
Week 1.
This is,
okay.
We go into self-empowerment, about the first step, really, in manifesting your dreams, in the 7-step roadmap, is about moving on to your own path. And a takeaway for someone who's just looking at this now and really wanting to consider your possibilities, a takeaway is, just imagine yourself claiming more of your true identity as a self-empowered creator. What would that be like, to feel like I'm really, like, this journey is coming from within. It's not from other people dictating to me what this is all about. It's really about me creating it. Creating rather than reacting, you could say, or creating rather than being a victim of circumstances.
And in that week 1, we do what we call reframing and anchoring with the soul. Those are some NLP terms that we go into. That's a core technique, and we'll talk a little more about that as we go on here. And some of you already know what we're talking about, but we'll go more into that.
Right.
So week
Right.
week 2 then, Jane?
Yes, I'm ready. You're ready.
Week 2, and then we go directly into soul centering, a cornerstone of our work, connecting with your soul, which includes mindfulness, but it goes beyond just mindfulness. You certainly want to be aware, but you want to connect with this higher being that you are a part of, that you're partnering with. And years ago, and almost 30 years ago, we met a man named Barry, sort of came out of the wilderness and went back into the wilderness, so to speak, and he taught us soul centering, and we realized something was extraordinary there, and we took it to heart and developed it. And we started meditating and using this in our daily life, so we have this strong connection with your soul, which turns out to be a key piece of evolving, because the more you are more soul connected, the more you're living in this moment, the more you're seeing things not only through your own physical self and your thoughts and feelings in your body, but you're seeing it through your soul. You're witnessing it. You're sort of doing two things at once. I'm talking, I'm being here with you, and I'm aware I'm being here with you. So you're sort of an instrument for your higher self, your soul, and for the world at large as you get more and more onto this path. And it's a wonder. There's practical tools and knowledge that we teach. And the soul centering is a key meditation, which we also use for healing. Plus, another part of the second week, and one of people's favorite parts of the 12-week course, is this 12 principles of manifestation. So this is a wonderful checklist you can use on yourself and others of checking in. Hey, I want to manifest blank. You want to manifest better health, better career, better relationship, etc. And so you take these 12 areas, and we talk a little bit about them. Your desire, how strong is your desire? How strong is your expectation? How strong is your trust? Those are a few of them. You start to check in on that and say, wow, I have a strong desire, but I don't really expect it. Or I have a strong desire and a strong expectation, but I don't really trust it's going to happen. So all of those things, what they mean, how they play out, and there's 12 of them, is a very useful checklist, very useful understanding for how to manifest. Week 2, anything you want to add to that, Jane?
Yeah, so week 2 is step 2 of the roadmap, uncovering your heartfelt joy.
Right.
And that too was for me a real transformation, because I think both of us were looking for how, if you're out in the wilderness and you don't have a roadmap, you need to find your guidance somewhere, and the guidance comes from within, from your heart, essentially. So it's a really powerful area. And that leads us to the third class and the third step on the roadmap, which is on which that's not I was lost here. Let me see. The third step, which is really where we go into goal setting. And so that one is, I'm kind of lost here on my thing.
Well, just for goal setting, we have.
I know. I got lost. Yeah, yeah, it is a goal setting.
Right.
I'm sorry. So it's really, again, now focusing specifically on what's important to you. And it's interesting to think that most people don't ever write down their goals. And it's been proven by success coaches that the people who really succeed are the ones who write down their goals. And this was another thing that we did around that time when we were getting started, is we actually started to dream of, okay, so if this isn't working, now what are we going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And it led us really into healing in places that we never would have imagined, because we didn't know where we were going to go from where we were at that point. And it changed our lives completely.
Right.
And I think that it also, in teaching goal setting, we include some areas that probably you wouldn't find other places. One of them, which I don't see here on Philip's list, but one of the ones that I really like is what we call your ground rules.
Right.
It's kind of like, what is the basis of your life? How does it transpire? What is it like? Well, everything happens with joy and ease for me. That's like everybody has an opportunity to set down those kinds of guidelines for what they expect from reality. And it really does change things when you do that, along with writing down specific goals and really tying them into why you want them, which is
Mm-hmm.
so important, because it's
Mm-hmm.
easy to kind of get off track, like, oh, I'd like this, I'd like that. But why is it that you want something? You know, how does that fit into the big picture of where you really see yourself going?
Right.
So that's another part of it. And we introduce coaching wheels, another coaching tool in that part of the course. So every week we're introducing different things. This is the Wheel of Life. We offer a lot of different coaching wheels, which is kind of beyond where we can go today, but it's a way to help people to focus on where their strengths are and where they need to focus, where things are holding them back. Like in the Wheel of Life, it might be like things might be pretty good, but maybe you're feeling like your personal and spiritual growth, you're kind of lagging behind in that, or you're lagging behind in recreation. You know, if we don't take time to play, that can be a problem for us. So there are many ways that we can hold ourselves up. Even the environment, your
Right.
environment may not be supporting you.
Right. There's a lot there. And the Wheel of Life, the coaching tools, is a more traditional coaching device, very practical, very useful to know. We put it in the context of the whole manifestation course. And many of the tools we actually developed ourselves just because that's who we are, and or that we felt there was a need for them, and we didn't know of any, so we developed it ourselves. But this is a traditional one. We also have another wheel we created called the Wheel of Fortune, about money and so forth, that we also teach.
Yeah, yeah, and they go throughout our program, really. It's a takeaway that you can take from this is focus on what's really important to you. Take time to write down a list of things that feel important, so that you can decide which ones really stand out as being at the top of the list, and then you know where to focus your energy.
Right.
That's really important.
I want to make a quick side note. I don't know if we've mentioned it yet, that this program, Manifesting Your Dreams 12-week course, part of the Coaching Healing full 1-year program, combines coaching and healing. And I just want to point that out because that is quite rare, and which is surprising. There's sort of an artificial division. It's beginning to be bridged in some of psychology and so forth, because you need both the coaching, the masculine, the action steps, and the healing, the inner, the feminine, the awareness of your feelings and so forth. You need them both to go forward. So it's rare to get both of them, even though actually it should be commonplace, but this program does provide both.
Right, right. And from where we've gone so far in the first 3 classes, it leads us into some important healing techniques because then you start identifying, you know, what's stopping you.
Right. And in week 4, we have NLP coaching techniques. You may or may not know what NLP is, neuro-linguistic programming. It's used a lot in coaching and in business and marketing, all kinds of things. It's very practical, and it came from master therapists decades ago, and people studied them and wrote down the steps that they did to help people with their healing, with their social skills, their communication skills. So we teach you those. Are really fundamental things to have. You may already have them, or you want to review them, or you may be missing some. And they're really, I mean, once you have them, you don't want to be without them. And also in that week, by the way, there's more in each of these weeks than we're covering. This is just part of it. You know, we can't,
Right. Yeah.
3 minutes
Just
each
an
for each
overview.
week.
Right.
You know, we're just kind of giving you a glimpse of it with an actionable tip, maybe. Body posture alignment. There's a lot of healing, somatic healing, being in your body. We're often out of our body when we're lost, when we're identified, when we're rushed. And to be more grounded in your body. And there's a simple exercise we do. So for example, just to kind of put it into a concrete example, think of something you want to manifest now. Maybe it's better health, a career, relationship, something you want. Okay. So that's, notice how you're now think that it may not happen, that you may not be able to achieve it, manifest it. Okay. Now notice your posture. Now imagine that you have achieved it, that it's going to happen. You're getting the support. The universe is working with you. And now you are manifesting this dream, maybe even more than you imagined. Now notice your posture. And using your posture as a tool it's a feedback tool. So that's a very simple thing to do using your posture in different ways. Jane, anything to add to that?
This week, the NLP coaching techniques, they focus on communication and the power of questions, asking questions, which we follow up on in the next class. Are we ready to go on to?
Oh, you mean the next week?
Mm-hmm. The next class, number 5.
Week 5. Mm-hmm.
In this one, we teach one of our core coaching processes that is helpful for people. We use it with new clients or people who may be considering working with us to help them to get clear on what's actually going on. And it involves asking a series of very focused questions to help people to understand, well, this is what I really want, and this is what it would do for me, but this is what's stopping me. And helping them to really go into the things that are holding them back, because that's why they come to us, right?
Exactly.
And it's kind of like they want something, but they might be confused, frustrated, afraid of failure, lacking confidence, generally miserable, not having enough time. There are so many different things that are going on with people where if we can help them to organize, what they want, what they need to do to take their next steps, and how we can help them, it's very valuable for people. Just that sense of clarity, it creates a calmness. Like, I have these steps now, I know what I'm going to do next. Most people, they're in a state of hurry and worry. Too busy, I don't really have time to think about whether this is making any sense or not. I'm just going to go ahead here. So this is a very profound process. It's actually one we learned years ago, and people pay thousands of dollars to learn it. A lot of success coaches teach it, and it's just one of the many things that we teach in this course. It also covers the 8 specific types of challenges people face that keep them stuck. And so if you know what those are, it's very helpful when you're working with a person to ask the right questions to bring them out, because you don't want to miss something. If you're talking with them, you want to go into as much depth as you can to understand what's really going on. And so it is important. The reason this is really important is to have a clear focus. And something you can do as a takeaway from this is to focus on what it's like to be clear. What do you need to be clear on your next steps on your journey?
Right. What is the next? And that takes us to week 6, introduction to hypnotherapy, and the NLP, again, representation systems. The hypnotherapy, hypnosis is something which has been around since ancient Egypt, and it's been around for thousands of years. And even the AMA, the American Medical Association, has recognized it, because there's been a lot of research on it and how effective it is for weight loss and smoking cessation and pain, removing pain. So it's very effective. It deals a lot with visualization and suggestions. And we teach you how to do that, some of the basics. Since we've done a lot of hypnotherapy, we're able to kind of boil down a lot of the essence to you and deliver a lot of the core elements very rapidly, succinctly. And NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, is really an offshoot of hypnotherapy and trance and different brain states. And when you know that what are called those representation systems, we're talking about your inner senses, your inner visualization, your inner seeing, your inner hearing, your inner feeling, your body. So when you are more aware of that, you become more mindful. So again, just as a quick actionable exercise, imagine what you want to manifest. It might be what you imagined the last time I asked you, or maybe there's another manifestation there, right? By the way, the more you focus on these things, the more they occur. I mean, you get what you focus on, right? That's a success principle. So imagine the manifestation. Okay. All right. And now, okay, now come on back here. Now, second, when you imagine the manifestation, notice how you are perceiving it. Are you seeing it? Are you hearing it? Are you sensing it in your body, kind of a knowingness? Maybe there's some even smells or tastes. So that's your inner senses. And some of you may be very developed in one or more of these, or this may be new to you. The good news is you can develop them all, even though you have a preference probably for one or more, you can develop them more. So you're basically having key components of self-development. Jane, you want to add to that?
Well, just as an overview, we've been talking about the steps on the roadmap. This is taking us into step 4, which is about clearing resistance. So it's going into, okay, so this is what I want, this is what's blocking me, and this is, now we go into clearing kind of the old outworn beliefs, painful memories, all of those things that are holding us back. And this was something Philip and we met years ago, actually years even before we started all of this, in a spiritual organization. And the focus was on being present and, living fully, but there wasn't any clearing. And one of the things that was one of the foundational ideas was not expressing negative emotions.
Right.
Which is a good idea in a certain way, to have some control over emotions. But if you're just repressing them, that isn't really helpful.
That's not too good.
No.
Then you have your volcanic, you have a storm of repression.
Right.
What did you say to me? I'm not going to say anything bad to you.
Right. Yeah. So that was a big missing piece in that particular organization. And when we had the opportunity to start learning about healing, it really put a lot of pieces together for us.
Right.
And it's amazing. I think most of our students just love the opportunity to clear things, because the thing is, the more you clear the stuff that's not you, the part that is left is you, that magnificent, wonderful spiritual being you are.
Right.
A wonderful person with something special to offer. And we don't often even realize that we have that within ourselves, because so many things are layered on top of it.
My side desk here where I'm working, you can't see it. It was kind of getting very cluttered, and I just cleaned it all off and straightened it today, and it felt really great. And that's an analogy for clearing out the clutter in your mind, in your heart, the stuff that you've collected along the way. And this is a perfect opportunity in a safe environment with getting expert input and tools to do so. Jane, we want to go on to week 7.
Yeah, and this one, of course, it's interesting when I teach the classes. It's almost like my favorite dessert. It's like, oh, I really love this one, and I do really love all of them. And this one is on the power of imagery, which is a tremendous key in opening to your full potential. I think that people don't realize how really profound and important images are. But if you look at the kinds of things that people say, a lot of it's out there, kind of like follow your heart, that part that we already discussed. For images, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And this is really true.
Right.
And then there's the one, what you see is what you get. And so we really go into how images contain it's all the emotions, all the thoughts and feelings and everything that are in kind of a perception that a person has through an image. An example is one time we worked with a woman, and she wanted to learn how to use computers, but it just drove her crazy. She couldn't figure out anything. And
some people can relate to that.
Right. Right. And so we asked her, what that picture looked like, and she said, well, all I see is the spinning top. It's like, and it made sense. Like her mind was just spinning. She just couldn't get it. And when we were able to clear that, then she could be calm and clear and actually learn better. So there was a block to learning there. Or another example, a woman, often we suggest, and we will in the process today, looking at your inner world as a landscape. Like, what would your world look like if this thing was happening, whatever it is? And I remember one time a client, when we asked her what that was, she said that all she could see around her was these spikes, like her whole world was spikes, and she couldn't go anywhere because she was surrounded. It's like being, on a bed of nails or something. And that had a lot of meaning to it. And I'm for those of you who have explored images, I'm sure you had those kinds of experiences where images bring out awareness that we don't have otherwise.
Right.
And again, people really love working with images. Clients love it. I think it's just amazing how insights come from just seeing the image, and then it's like, oh, I understand this so much better.
Right.
So that's why it's important. It demonstrates the power of the mind, and also the resourcefulness that people have, because as images, or as the blocks are cleared, the images change. So it is like what you see is what you get. If you see a world that's all spikes or a bed of nails, you're in some metaphoric way getting that. And the whole thing shifts. So it's really beautiful.
Which takes us to week 8 out of 12 for this course, the Manifesting Your Dreams course here, with many people.
Oh, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
In this class also, we teach an amazing process using hypnotherapy with images that you can use on almost anything. I think a person could make a whole practice just using this one technique, it just is quite remarkable how well it works.
Right. There's a lot of depth there for people who want to go deep, who want the tools, the knowledge, the support, get all their questions answered, work with people, make wonderful relationships. So that takes us to the next week, week 8 out of 12 here. And we go into 10 essential qualities for being therapeutic. There was some research years ago, and there are more than 10, but these may be the primary ones. So you may be good at healing. A lot of people come to say, people love to come to me for advice. They love my help, for me to help them. They've done that for me for my whole life, and they're really drawn to that. They're good at that. So they probably a lot of you have these qualities naturally, but you want to be conscious. That's the word of this. So the ones that you either lack or need to strengthen, you want to be aware of that too. So qualities like being present, of course, being concrete, being warm, even confrontation in the right time, what that means. So there's certain things to have in the right moment to be, a doctor would say, a good bedside manner. So you might have a lot of good tools, you may be very knowledgeable, but if you can't express them, if the person doesn't realize it, if you're not warm enough, if you're too abstract, that you're not going to be as effective as you could be. So we teach that, and sort of a corollary of this is what we call 5 toxic subpersonalities. What's that? So subpersonalities are parts of yourself that manifest, that we all have. And it just depends on the time and the place. A lot of people know the inner critic, for instance, or the inner dictator, sometimes called. What we're talking about here are several of them that you want to be aware of them in life in general, but especially if you're helping other people, things like being a pleaser, or being kind of a savior, trying to save people and what that means. And another one which is interesting is even being a teacher can be a toxic subpersonality depending on the context. Now, obviously right now we are being teachers, and that would be healthy. But if you have a client, the person may not be coming to you for you to teach the person, depending on the situation. So you want to be aware of things. What's the most effective way to communicate and connect with the person? Jane, anything to add to that?
No, I think that therapeutic relationships are very specific, and if you can hone your skills in that area, that's really helpful in both working as a holistic life coach and healer, and also in other relationships, just understanding more how to really be the person that you need to be in different situations. Right.
So that takes us to week 9. This is a big week, but we're kind of build up to this week. Like all the course is very carefully thought out. As we said, we've been teaching it for decades, and it doesn't get tiring. It just gets more rich and interesting. Yeah. But we kind of lay it out step by step in a way that seems to be best for learning. And this is by the time you're in week 9, you're ready for this one, Jane?
Actually, step 5 in the roadmap, which is eliminating the hold of the past. And it really is about recognizing that your history is not your destiny. That a lot of what we believe ourselves to be is determined in our younger years by authorities and repeated experiences, etc. But what we need to do, most of us, is clear those things. So this is going into the really deep hypnotic processes, age regression and past life regression. It's interesting. I grew up in an alcoholic family, and my father was emotionally abusive, somewhat physically abusive, although not so much with me, more with my mother. And I became very shy and quiet because that's all I could do is withdraw. So by the time I was an adult, I could hardly talk in a group much more than maybe 2 or 3 people. And it's interesting, moving into this work, I realized that healing my inability to express myself was a key part of my own journey, and also the path to my life purpose, which is being here with people like you and teaching and healing and living together in a way that is, you could say, kind of ahead of the crowd, but really is a way that can help everyone to create better lives. So that has been, for me, probably the biggest part of healing the past. I think we all have a variety of things, most of us. Some of us, there's probably a very small percentage of people who don't have the experience of having a lot of things that they need to unlearn to really be their best.
Right.
But for those of us who didn't have that kind of good fortune, then this is the process that we go through. And so that for me was, again, another really transformational part of my own growth and my professional growth.
Right.
So Philip, any more thoughts on that one?
No, I think if we just go into the next week here, because that's a sort of a continuation in inner child awareness and healing.
Yeah.
That's gives you a good sense of going further with being aware of your past history. Have you ever noticed why, sometimes we all make bad decisions and are impulsive and act out? Well, that often,
or acting like a child.
yeah. Why am I so childish? Or yelling or screaming or crying, and that's the inner child that's still that's not integrated, that's left over, that's there to be healed. So that's a very key part of our development and the triggers and how to nurture that. In fact, just like a quick exercise right now. So if you think of maybe something that you're a little upset that you did, maybe that you wished you hadn't done, something could be a small thing, you cut someone off in traffic or you spoke abruptly. Well, maybe you can just say to yourself, that's okay. It'll work out. I make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. Just say something nice to yourself or think that, or even just kind of hug yourself or kind of, it's going to be okay. Philip, you're going to be okay. It wasn't the smartest thing to say, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. You'll recover. Far worth has my heart endured, as the saying goes, by Gertie. Yeah. So that's a nurturing, just little simple nurturing things. But going deeper in the healing processes, like we do with EFT and reframing and anchoring in the course, you can go much deeper and use those kind of little coaching strategies that I just shared with you to help go further in that area. Jane, anything more on the inner child?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that we all reach a point in our lives where we need to go in and root these things out. This is related to the previous week of releasing the hold of the past. And for myself, I remember when I first heard this concept, I thought, well, I don't really have any problems.
Right.
I know my parents did their best and, blah, blah, blah. Well, then I started having dreams of children who were angry with me. Mm-hmm. And the first one was really an infant. And then as time passed, they started getting older and older. And I realized these were parts of me who needed to be healed. And really then started exploring it. That was how it happened for me. And I think many people have, we all have our own unique journeys, but it's a really important part of it that leads us to the next step, which is class number 11. Step 6 on the roadmap is, which is shifting into manifestation mode. I really love that concept. It gets exciting now because we've gone through all of these different steps, a lot of clearing, a lot of potential building, and this is where we gather our resources so that we can take effective action. You know, how I said that if you are not in the right place to take action, then a lot of people waste time. You know, they're spinning their wheels because they're in the wrong place really to be able to manifest. And this one, we focus a lot on beliefs here about what we believe is possible for us. And we, as I think Philip showed on that outline, we do a really wonderful process called the Belief Buster, which helps people to clear limiting beliefs and really to prepare yourself to be, you know, fully prepared in the right place, which is really what I call that place of pure potential where anything is possible, where miracles could happen. Who knows what might happen? And expecting something good, and then being ready to take what we call inspired action, which is really the final part of it.
Right.
And it is really to being free to be yourself on your journey. You know, it's like understanding that all of the things that we perceive as limitations, of course, I mean, it's not like you can't, if you're short, you can't expect to be tall or change your hair color, but but really the limitations we perceive about ourselves are more the illusion, and that infinite potential part is really the truth if you look at it from a higher perspective.
Right.
So what we're doing is just preparing ourselves to be able to be in that place.
And neuroscience is finding that just possibilities are far greater of human potential than previously thought. Heart math, studying the heart, and we talk a lot about the heart, opening the heart and all the magnetism there. So a lot more is possible than you might imagine. And that belief buster process that you learn is a really valuable one. Like, what do you believe is possible? And there's like a series of questions to ask to figure out, you know, how much can you achieve? A lot of it just stop because you don't think you can, you know.
Right. Or it's possible for other people, but it's not possible for me. Or it might be possible for me, but it's not possible now. You know, just
yeah,
there are so many things
conditions
that can hold people back. Right.
Yeah, unnecessary restrictions.
Right.
And that takes us to week 12 of this course, part of Coaching and Healing, the one that begins at this time, February 11th. The last class is the brightest possible future. That's a process and a subject in itself, and taking action. And this brightest possible future, we one time did this process with one of our students, Victor, and he wanted to manifest a better job. And then 2 weeks later, he was offered a job that was twice the income of the one he currently had, which was a big pay raise, a huge pay raise for him. So not saying that that's always going to happen that way, but if you put it out there, you have different futures, right, available to you. If you start to figure out which would be a good one to pursue, you can actually get on that track, which takes you to taking action, which is a key, obviously a key to manifesting. And taking action could mean a lot of different things. It could mean just being patient, is being, you know, waiting for that right moment, your timing, for that opportunity, because you're open now, right? You're soulfully present. You're seeing things. You're not walking by them. You're not, oh, I don't think I could ever do this. It would never happen. You're saying, hey, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know good things are coming. You might come across that synchronous event or that key connection, or maybe this class itself could be that next step that opens up an incredible future. You might get messages from the soul. It may occur totally differently, and it often does, and you can even imagine it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's part of it, is being ready for something to be different than you were expecting, but maybe even better. That's happened to us numerous times.
Right. A lot of possibilities there. So
Right.
that's, yeah, taking action. And that takes us, and I'll just mention really briefly, there's actually a bonus set of recordings, like a mini course in itself that we did a few years back, Science of Getting Rich, based on Wallace Wattles' classic work. And we combined it with a lot of our original EFT, holistic EFT, getting through techniques. So you can use manifestation and Wallace Wattles' texts that we updated and use these techniques. So it's a really neat course with handouts and so forth to help you manifest.
Mm-hmm. And with each of our courses is 4 months long, and usually we have 3 weeks on and then 1 week off in a month generally. Right. And we have some kind of a bonus for that 4th week, and which can be, this is one, which is actually a bigger one than usual, but we usually have something extra. And so there's always more. There's so much to explore. Yeah. It's really wonderful.
Yeah, many people take the whole program more than once. Some of the people on the call are taking it the whole 1 year more than once. So people take the program. They could be starting out. They could be very experienced or somewhere in between. But it seems to work if it feels right. You know, it works for you. And that we want to, as we're getting close, we want to do a shorter demo, as we promised, of one of the techniques with one of our students, Sunny Sanaz, great person here from, I'll unmute you, Sunny. And let's see, I thought, okay, you want to unmute? Okay, Sunny, you're unmuted. Hey, welcome. And so Sunny, Jane's going to kind of help you through something you want to manifest or something that might be getting in the way. Go ahead, Sunny.
Yes, hi and welcome everybody. Yeah, it's great to see you all, and you're gonna love it. It's just so thank you for the opportunity. What I was thinking about manifesting is prosperity.
Mm-hmm.
I came from Iran, old Persia. I love to call it that. I'm Persian, and I went through war, and I had this mindset that maybe I couldn't be manifesting prosperity, and it's getting better and better, but I'm ready to receive and seeing myself worthy of it.
Mm-hmm.
You bet.
So you think that's the block, is feeling unworthy of it?
I think so.
Mm-hmm. How does that make you feel emotionally?
Emotionally, talking about the inner child, I remember when I was growing up, it was war, and we were all like 2-3 family living in basement.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes me remember where I came from, and it feels like it will be like a really lofty reach to expect, like having a dream house, dream car, place in Hawaii. Those are my dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Nice place in Maui, and retiring a little earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So feeling, thinking of the childhood makes me constricted, and thinking of all the things that I want to have and manifest makes my heart expand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And that's kind of an example of the why.
Okay.
You know, like, I know that this is right for me. It makes it, I feel it in my heart. Yeah. But I want to go back to the emotions. So it felt like a lofty reach. How does that make you feel? Does it make you feel frustrated, sad, angry? There must be something there. And it really helps to identify the emotion.
Yes.
Then we can measure that and do before and after.
Yeah, so the feeling of not being able to reach it, is that the question?
Mm-hmm.
The feeling of the possibility of not reaching it makes me frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and how frustrated from 1 to 10?
7.
Mm-hmm. I'm getting an echo here. Is there someone else who's? Well, maybe we just have to put up with what else to do. Okay, so I have to.
I can put my headset on to see if that helps.
If the echo coming from there. It's interesting. We didn't have it. It just started.
Yeah.
Let's see if this helps. It's gone now. So Sanaz, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, I think that did it for some reason. Good, thank you. Thank you for thinking of that.
of course.
So if you focus on that frustration, is there anywhere in your body where you feel it particularly?
In my heart center,
Mm-hmm. And what do you feel there?
I feel constriction, kind of little pressure, heaviness.
Mm-hmm. And how heavy and constricted does it feel?
7 as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do with the reality shift is focus on what that looks like in your inner world. So when you're feeling that way, constricted and frustrated and unworthy, what does your world look like if you were to imagine it as a landscape?
Yes, I feel like I am in desert and it's dark and windy, and it's so dark that I just I feel scared because I can't see my way out.
Mm-hmm.
And the temperature is fine. It's not bothering me, but it's the sand is hitting my face bothering me most.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of the obstacles, it's hard to move through the wind and sand.
Mm-hmm. Are there any sounds in that world?
No, actually, I can just hear some coyotes
Mm-hmm.
real far. They're not close, but still it's scary.
Mm-hmm. Any smells?
Just desert, kind of sand,
Mm-hmm.
earth. I hear the wind too.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Would you like to do the reframing and anchoring to see
Sure.
what happens? And we won't have time really to teach this per se, but you might get a sense of it just watching it. So so for a moment then, Snaz, focus on those feelings, being in that place with those feelings for a moment.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then as you just feeling that in your body, put your left hand on your left leg
Mm-hmm.
for a moment and just continue to focus on it. You can release that. And now imagine just rising to that place of pure potential, opening to the love you hold in your heart.
Yes.
And focus on that energy and let me know when you can feel that in your body.
I can feel it now.
Oh, good. And just allow that to radiate out around you so it becomes really nice and strong. And then put your right hand on your right leg.
Mm-hmm.
Taking a nice breath of it. Then you can release that and just let your mind relax for a moment. Put both hands on both legs at the same time.
Yes.
Now release the left one, the one you're letting go of.
Mm-hmm.
And now release the other one and take a couple nice breaths. And let me know what you're noticing now.
Well, I notice that the landscape completely has changed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm standing in a field of flowers. The sky is beautiful and blue. I don't see any clouds. The sun is just perfect. It's kind of feels like about 4 p.m., so it's not strong, but it's touching my skin. I am actually wearing a bright yellow bikini with
The
real
R-rated version.
bright red lipstick, and I have a beautiful smile. I see just a dog and a cat next to me that they just became friends with me. and hear birds, and I hear a sound of waves. So I know if I keep walking, I will see the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very beautiful tropical place.
Mm-hmm. And from this perspective now, how do you feel about manifesting some prosperity?
I feel like a young girl that can see all the potential and go for it and being excited. And I feel like when I was very young, I didn't know that all the obstacles could happen, and used to have magical thinking. So that magical thinking, I feel like it's coming back, and to create the magic.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. And just to review, that frustration that you noticed before, how is that now?
That is, I don't feel it right now.
Mm-hmm. And the constriction and heaviness in your heart?
That is gone. I feel very expanded and light, and I can't wait to run and find the ocean and jump in.
Wonderful. Does that feel complete?
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Sunny, for doing that. That
Thank
was
you.
beautiful, and that it's a gorgeous example of it because it shows how our inner world can change, and it's a good example too of our approach, which is to clear things quickly and easily as much as possible. And this is the kind of process that we often use.
Yeah, that was a great example. Thanks, Sunny. And Sunny, when you
Thank
look
you.
towards the prosperity of the things you want to create now, what comes to mind now? How do you view them?
I see them possible. I could actually, at the end of the process, I had this glimpse of the property that I envision having in Maui, and felt very possible that it is going to happen.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for doing that. Yeah, good things are coming your way.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
You bet.
You're
Great to
welcome.
have you with us. Yeah, that was
Oh,
a great example.
can I just make one other point? And Sunny is probably aware of this. In these kinds of processes, everything has meaning, and
Right.
you could go a little further into the meaning of things. But the thing that stands out for me most is how people perceive the sun. The sun almost always comes out as things are cleared.
Right.
And she said that it was touching her body perfectly. And to me, the sun is our source. So it represents the creator. So what she was saying, and you can tell me, I'd like to actually hear, you might want to unmute her again.
Yes.
That if there is that sense of, before it would have been separation from your potential, and now it's connectedness with everything, including your source, which is shining
Yes.
down on you.
Yes, that's very beautifully said. Thank you. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. And it is, I mean, for me, that's the most profound part, is that
Mm-hmm.
we're reconnecting
Yes.
with our source, with God, with the creator, however we understand that.
Yes, and I feel like the flowers could be prosperity,
Mm-hmm.
because there
Yeah.
were so
Blooming.
many
Mm-hmm.
flowers and different colors.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
Growth. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. And I would say, I would assume that you would agree that with the imagery, it adds a richness to kind of the perception of the before and after. I think that's what I find.
Right.
And it's just so interesting. You just never know. Everyone is different.
Right.
But you can kind of get a feel from it, of course, that the original darkness and the wind and, everything, just very unpleasant. It was a
Right.
completely different thing and changed so rapidly. That
And
was,
it often can be rapid, and partly because of the power of the techniques and the environment, and just putting yourself in this position. Thanks again, Sunny. And before we wrap up, we're getting close to that, and we'll stick around for what we call after hours. So if people want to just add questions or comments, feel free to stick around for that. But you can see, if you would you would learn these techniques in the course, as people enrolled already know, and the new people will find out. And if you imagine doing processes like Sunny did every week on yourself and helping other people to do it, that's why there's such tremendous personal and spiritual growth. So you're not the same person in 12 weeks that you are when you began, because you've shifted and transformed and soul infused your life so much. And over a year, it's even more so. So that's the nature of the journey here.
Yeah.
in
I
this
remember
program.
one of our students, and we stay in touch with a lot of people as much as we can. It's like our family. So there was one woman who was a student of ours, and this was now, probably more than 10 years ago, maybe 12, 13 years. And
Mhm.
and she took our course. I remember when she started, she was somewhat reluctant and uncertain about her choice of taking it. It was a challenge for her financially, but she decided she really needed to do something because her life wasn't working. And so she decided, well, I'm just going to go for this. And
Mhm.
she invited some of her friends to join her, like, wouldn't this be great? We can do this together. And none of them wanted to do it. So she took the whole program, and she told me this some years later. She said, I was just thinking, my whole life has changed. Now I'm living in a completely different way than before, and I have this wonderful holistic practice, and all these things are happening. She said, and so I started thinking of my friends who I invited to join me. And she said, they're still stuck where they were before. So who's the winner? And I thought that was such a beautiful way to describe it. And I think for us, we've put a lot of investments ourselves into getting to where we are. And I think it's just the very best thing we could possibly have done on all levels. It's just
Right.
really amazing.
Right. So before we conclude here, and then we'll stick around for after hours, for those people in the course, congratulations, those continuing and those starting, that's going to be exciting. And for those who are looking to maybe join us, we're beginning officially next week, February 11th at this time, and there's a URL there to go check out the course, tinyurl.com/HOL coach. Or you can call us at our office at 805-934-1238. So this is the program. This is kind of a introduction without kind of getting into the nitty-gritty how-to tools and practicing and really integrating it. But it gives you kind of a good taste, I think, of an overview of the big picture of what you would be doing with us and people. It's good for people. Everyone wants, tremendous spiritual personal growth. That you definitely will get that. Some people want to start a practice, enhance a practice, a new career, add to what they know, build their confidence and competence, and get a lot of tools for manifestation and coaching and healing. And be in this wonderful supportive community with other holistic people, which, as you know, are not easy to come by. So you develop practice partners, support partners, and sometimes good friends, personal and professional, from this course, which is really a great opportunity, being with like-minded people, and learn how to live more from your soul and your purpose. That's one of the biggest benefits, I would say. Jane, you want to add to that?
Well, I'm just excited about starting again. I think Philip referred a little bit to it briefly before, that we've taught this many times, and over the years it has evolved quite a bit, but it's just amazing to me too that I still am learning and growing.
Right.
I think that's one of the things. As an architect, I really felt like I was stuck, and there was so much stress with it, and with this, it's so joyful. And there's more depth to, I think, our evolution than we can possibly realize, because the journey just continues, and it becomes more and more miraculous the further we go. So I welcome anyone who's interested.